Welcome back to the episode of Smooth Brain EDH. We're the smoothest plays with the biggest brains. We got some more exciting Commander gameplay coming your way. Let's see what our players brought this week. First up is Matt on Omo, Queen of Vesuva. This is a Simic lands deck, hoping to take advantage of almost everything counters to make a ton of mana off of Tron lands and Cloud Post. Up next is Seth on Kibo, Uktabi Prince. This Gruul deck is all about bananas, untapping Kibo as many times as possible to give out bananas to opponents, then buffing all Seth's creatures when opponents use those. Our third player today is Alex on Kelsien the Plague. This mortar deck is kind of a control deck, hoping to keep the board clear and buff up the commander with experience counters, then beat down opponents' life totals. Last is Jason on Gev, Scaled Scorch. This Rakdos deck is all about our scaly friends, using Gev as a damage source and a way to buff up all the lizards coming into play. We're about to hop right to the game. Before that, go and give us a like, subscribe, and ring the notification bell so you don't miss any of our new content. We have links to our social media, public Discord server, Decklists, and our Patreon in the description. We're partnered with Dragon Shield. Check out our affiliate link in the description if you're looking to pick up any sleeves, deck boxes, or playmats, and use code SMOOTH5 at checkout for 5% off your order. We are also partnered with Inked Gaming. Our affiliate link is also in the description if you're looking to make any custom playmats. Now, on to the gameplay.
Alright, it looks like Matt wins the die roll. He'll start off with a tapped Maze's End, and he'll pass to Seth. And it's at this point I gotta let you guys know the theme of this game. It is Seth's god tier top deck skills. I'm sure you all remember his hand and what his turn 1 play should be. Well, let's see what it actually is after his draw. He goes Command Tower into Ragavan, and then he'll pass the turn. Then Alex says, hey, I'm turn 1 play gang too. He'll play Plains into Reconnaissance, and then pass to Jason. And Jason will just join the Tapland gang with a Haunted Ridge, and then pass to Matt. And Matt will just play Field of the Dead tapped, and pass to Seth. Man, Matt is going to be terrifying late in this game. Anyways, on Seth's turn, he'll move to combat and swing for 2 at Alex with Ragavan. Alex can't stop it, so he'll take 2, Seth gets a treasure, and Alex will exile at knife point. Seth does not want to cast it though. Post-combat, he'll play a Rogue's Passage, and then show us the top deck he got this turn, a Soul Ring. This is good for him because this lets him cast Kibo without sacrificing his treasure. And then with the treasure, he'll cast a Hardened Scales, and then pass the turn to Alex. Alex starts off with Caves of Koilos, then he'll tap for 2 and take a damage to cast General's Enforcer. Then he'll pass the turn to Jason, who starts off with a basic mountain. Then he'll cast the Man, the Myth, the Lizard, Gev. Then the turn's passed to Matt, and he'll just play a basic forest and cast his commander, Omo. When Omo enters, she'll get an everything counter, and Field of the Dead will get an everything counter. And then the turn is passed. And Seth will start his turn off by activating Kibo to give everyone a banana token. Then he'll play a Prismatic Vista as land for turn, and he'll immediately fetch with it for a basic forest. He'll then tap for 3 and cast a Kodama's Reach, and this will find him a forest to the battlefield tapped and a mountain to his hand, and then he'll just pass the turn while shuffling. Alex starts off with a basic mountain, and then he'll tap for 3 and cast Kelsien the Plague, who is immediately swung at Seth for 2. No blocks from Seth, and then before damage, Alex will activate Kelsien to kill Ragavan. So Ragavan perishes, and Alex gets an experience counter. Seth then takes 3 commander, and Alex does not reconnaissance his commander. The turn is then passed to Jason, and he'll start off with Arena of Glory. He'll then move to combat, and Seth will take another 3 commander damage. And then post-combat, Jason will tap for 2 and cast Flamecash Gecko. Gev trigger, Matt takes 1, and it'll enter with 2+1/+1 counters. Then Jason will also get to float Rakdos off his ETB. And he'll use it, and then tap for 1 more to cast Florian, Voldaren's Scion, and it also enters with 2/1/1 counters. The turn is then passed to Matt, and he starts off with a Dark Depths. That's terrifying. He'll then tap for 4 and cast a Sowing Mycospawn. Yes, he does accidentally tap Dark Depths for mana. He catches this later and just fixes it by sacrificing a banana token instead. Seth's main game plan is just tapping Kibo for more bananas early game, so I'm pretty sure the counters won't even matter. Anyways, cast trigger, Matt tutors a Cloud Post to the battlefield tapped. Then he'll move to combat and poke Seth for 1 commander. And the attack trigger will put counters on his Forest and his Sowing Mycospawn. Then the turn is passed to Seth. He'll start off with that basic mountain he tutored for, and then he'll just activate Kibo again, more bananas. He'll then tap for 4 and cast Summit Apes. He used 2 mana from bananas, so he'll gain 4. Then he's able to tap for an additional 4 to cast the Great Henge. And then the turn is passed to Alex. Alex will start off with a basic swamp, then he'll tap for 3 and cast Quietus Spike. It resolves, and then thanks to Seth's bananas, he's able to equip it to his commander. He'll also gain 4 life, and Seth's creatures get 4 counters. Alex will then move to combat, and he swings Kelsien at Seth. Seth will declare no blocks, And before damage, Alex will tap Kelsien to deal 1 damage of Death Touch to Kibo, so Kibo will die. And Alex gets an experience counter. Then still before damage, Alex will pay 0 to Reconnaissance to remove Kelsien from combat and untap him. Then he'll tap him again to kill Seth's other ape, and Alex gets another experience counter. And then the turn is passed to Jason. He'll immediately move to combat and swing Gev at Seth, a 5/5 Florian at Matt, and his Gecko at Alex. There are no blocks, so everyone takes their damage. Post-combat, Florian trigger. Jason gets to look at the top 12 cards of his library and pick one to exile. And the card he chooses is Chthonian Nightmare. He'll then sacrifice both of his bananas for a Talisman of Indulgence, and then he'll cast Accursed Marauder. ETB trigger makes everyone sacrifice a creature. Jason will sacrifice his own Accursed Marauder so he can then cast Chthonian Nightmare, get 3 energy, and then pay 2 energy and sacrifice his Gecko to Chthonian Nightmare to return the Marauder to the battlefield, and he bounces Chthonian Nightmare to his hand. Jason will sacrifice the Marauder to itself again, and he has officially policed all of his opponent's creatures off the board. And it's at this point that Matt realized he accidentally tapped his Dark Depths for mana, so he removes one of his banana tokens. The turn is then passed to him, and he'll gain 2 life from that banana. After this though, he'll tap his 4 lands that can tap for mana, and then sacrifice his last banana token to recast Omo. ETB trigger puts a counter on Omo again, and then also Dark Depths, so now it can tap for mana. Matt will then play his Talon Gates as land for turn, and when it ETBs, he'll phase out Omo. Then he'll pass to Seth, who will activate Great Henge on end step for 2 life. Now let's move to Seth's turn. He'll cast Realm Walker, and it enters with 2 1/1 counters, and he'll draw a card. And keep in mind, Kibo cares about both apes and monkeys, so Seth can only choose 1 creature type. He chooses apes. After this, he'll tap for 5 and recast Kibo. He uses the Great Henge, so he'll gain 2 life, and also draw a card, and Kibo gets 2 counters. Then he'll play Wooded Foothills as land for turn, and he'll fetch with it for a commercial district and surveil 1. This puts Primal Vigor into his graveyard. Then the turn is passed to Alex. He'll play Dragon Skull Summit as land for turn. Then he'll tap for 4 and cast Queen Marchesa, and when she ETBs, he becomes the Monarch. That's all he has, so he'll pass the turn and draw an end step. Now on Jason's turn, he starts off with a basic Swamp. He'll then move to combat, and he swings Gev at Matt and Florian at Alex, and they'll both just take it. Monarch is stolen, Jason finds the token for it later. Anyways, post-combat, Florian digs him 8 deep, and he'll exile a Dark Ritual, which he immediately casts for 3 black mana. He'll use 2 of it and then tap for 2 red to cast Hellspur Posse Boss. Cast trigger will deal 1 damage to Seth, and then when it ETBs, he'll create 2 mercenaries, and all of them enter with 3 1/1 counters. After this, Jason will recast Chthonian Nightmare, and then the Ozolith. He'll then activate Chthonian Nightmare, paying 2 energy and sacrificing a mercenary to get Flamecash Gecko back to the battlefield. 3 counters are put on the Ozolith, and then Jason floats Rakdos on ETB, which he uses to recast Chthonian Nightmare. This gets him to a total of 5 energy, then he'll pass the turn and draw off Monarch. On to Matt's turn, where his commander will phase back in. He'll then tap his Cloud Post for 4 colorless mana, and use 1 of it to cast Expedition Map. Then he'll sacrifice the Expedition Map to search for a land, and Kibo will trigger. And this will find Vesuva to his hand. And he'll play it as land for turn, copying Cloud Post. Old Legacy Post players, you guys must be really happy right now. After this, Matt will cast a Seedborn Muse. Oh boy, if this thing sticks around for the turn cycle, incoming 2020 with Indestructible. The turn is then passed to Seth, our untapped comrade. He'll start off with a Beast Whisperer, Great Henge trigger. Then he'll cast a Tree Monkey, Beast Whisperer, and Great Henge trigger. Seth will then play a Cinderglade as land for turn. And hey, there's an ape on the top of his library. He'll cast it. It's Uktabi Orangutan, cast trigger and ETB trigger. Artifact Destruction hits Quiet as Spike and Kibo triggers. After this, Seth casts Gorilla Shaman from the top of his library, Beast Whisperer and Great Henge triggers again. Dear God, ape strong together. And Ape Choose Peace. Seth will activate Kibo to give everybody nanners. He'll then sacrifice his banana to gain 2 and float a red, and he'll use it to activate his Gorilla Shaman, X0, targeting Jason's banana. Jason will sacrifice it for 2 life in response, but Seth still gets what he wants, a Kibo trigger. Ape Peacetimes will then sadly end, as Seth moves to combat and swings for 10 at Matt with Realm Walker. Matt will just take the 10 on the chin, and Seth consoles him with it by saying, hey, you've got a banana, think of it as only 8 damage. Seth then passes the turn, and Matt says, actually, I've got a better consolation prize. He'll stop on end step and float 10 colorless mana with his Cloud Posts, then float a blue to overload Cyclonic Rift. Alex will respond by sacrificing his banana for 2 life, Kibo trigger doesn't matter, and then the Rift resolves. Matt then floats the rest of his mana and puts it all into Dark Depths to remove 2 ice counters. Seth then has one hell of a cleanup. And honestly, I'm just going to let him say all the cards.
I am going to discard Ferocious Tigerilla, Beast Whisperer, Realm Walker, Ozolith the Shattered Spire, Rockfall Vale, Copperline Gorge, Carplucent Forest, Stomping Ground, and Path to Ancestry. I'm also going to discard Mazavith and Tree Monkey.
Alright, let's move to Alex's turn, where he'll cast Talisman of Indulgence, and then he'll recast Marchesa and steal the Monarchy back. Then he'll move to end step, where Matt will float 15 mana and remove 5 more counters from the Dark Depths. Oh god, oh fuck. Anyways, let's move to Jason's turn, where he plays a Swamp. Then he'll recast his Talisman, then give it up for Gev. Then he'll cast Flame Cash Gecko, cast trigger deals a damage to Matt, and then when it ETBs, he'll float Rakdos, and it gets a counter. Jason will then cast Sanctum of Stonefangs. Then he'll pass the turn to Matt, who stops on end step to put Dark Depths down to only 1 counter. He's holding everyone under the gun. We'll then go to his turn, where he moves to combat and swings for 1 at Seth. Attack trigger, Seedborn Muse, and Talon Gates get counters. Matt will then tap everything except Dark Depths and Maze's End to cast Finale of Revelation, X is 13. X is greater than 10, so he'll draw 13, untap 5 lands, and now no longer has a max hand size. And he only had to tap 5 lands to do that, so now he's just untapped again. Anyways, after this, Matt will play a Thespian Stages land for turn. This is his 8th land, but his 7th with a different name, so Field of the Dead is online and he gets a 2/2 zombie. He'll then tap Vesuva Post for 6 colorless, and he'll go down to 4 to activate Thespian Stage to get a 2nd Field of the Dead. He then said, I don't have enough cards. Consecrated Sphinx. I'm not announcing every trigger, you guys know what this does. Then he'll cast a Lord of the Unreal. Pretty good with everything counters. After all this, Matt will pass the turn to Seth. And Seth just has to start recasting stuff, starting with Soul Ring. Then Kibo, then Hardened Scales, then Gorilla Shaman, and then he'll cast a Cultivate. This finds a forest to the battlefield tapped and a mountain to hand, which he'll play as land for turn. Then he'll tap it for a red to activate Gorilla Shaman and attempt to destroy Matt's banana. Of course, Matt will sacrifice it in response to gain 2 life, but Seth still gets his counters. Seth will then pass through phases, and Matt stays on second main to cast Eureka Moment. He'll draw 2 cards, and put Urza's Tower into play, and make 2/2/2 zombies. Then the turn is passed to Alex. He'll play an Isolated Chapel as land for turn, and then he recasts his commander, who is immediately swung at Matt, but Matt will just put a zombie in front of it. The turn is then passed to Jason, no Simic shenanigans on end step, and the first thing Jason does is recast Florian and ask, can I please hit anybody so I can dig deeper with Florian? And Alex says, yeah, you can hit me. A Stonefang's trigger is then remembered, so give his turn sideways and Alex takes 3 commander. But at the end of combat, Matt says, nope, only I can have card advantage. Pongify Florian. Ape Strong with Jason. And funnily enough, it gets 3 counters. That's a 6/6 Abe. And Alex remembers to tell Jason, hey, you're the Monarch now. After this, Jason will recast Hellspur Posse Boss. It enters with 3 counters, makes 2 mercenaries, and those get 3 counters as well. The turn is then passed to Matt. And he'll start off by stealing the Monarchy from Jason by swinging his Sphinx at him. Then post-combat, Matt slams Apex Devastator. First Cascade's Evacuation. Jason says his lizards are turning into frogs with how often they're being bounced this game. Second hit is Court of Calling, which Matt declines. Next is Expedition Map, which did get shuffled in with the finale earlier. And then the last one hits Desert Warfare. Matt will then sacrifice his map to find Gaia's Cradle to his hand. And then he'll play it as land for turn, and make 2 zombies. He'll then recast Omo and Gaia's Cradle will get a counter. He'll then recast his Seedborn Muse, and then pass the turn to Seth. More recasting, first off is Kibo, then Gorilla Shaman, Mountain is land for turn, and then he'll tap for 3 and cast a Taurian Mauler. Then he'll cast Uktabi Orangutan, and he'll have Jason's Talisman get blown up. And this will trigger Kibo. He'll then pass the turn, and Matt decides, now I want a Merit Lodge. So he'll pay 3 mana to Dark Depths, and he creates the Indestructible 2020. Then we'll move to Alex's turn. I hope you guys are ready for this Taurian Mauler to get huge. He'll start off by recasting Kelsien. Then Alex will cast a Shadow Spear, and then the turn is passed to Jason. Stonefang's trigger, then he'll cast Gev, and then the Gecko again. Damage trigger goes to Matt, and then he'll float Rakdos. Then Jason casts the Ozolith, then Chthonian Nightmare, and he'll activate the Nightmare to bring back his Accursed Marauder. He sacrifices his Gecko, which did enter with 3 counters, so the Ozolith gets 3 counters. Alex will respond by flashing in a Hidden Blade. It attaches itself to Kelsien, and he'll gain Death Touch. Then Alex pays into Shadow Spear, so everything loses Hexproof and Indestructible. Then he'll activate Kelsien to destroy Merit Lodge. The Marauder trigger will then resolve and everybody sacrifices a creature. Jason will sacrifice his own Marauder, which had 3 counters, so the Ozolith goes up to 6. Jason then recasts Chthonian Nightmare, and then he'll pass the turn to Matt. When he goes through phases, Gev gets all those counters on Ozolith. Matt will start off with an Hour of Promise. This tutors Lazotep Quarry and Trench Post to the battlefield tapped, and he'll get a ton of zombies from this. Land for turn is Dryad Arbor, more zombies. He'll then recast Lord of the Unreal, and then move to combat. He has exactly 5 deserts, so Desert Warfare will make 5 1/1s with haste, and they and Omo all go at Alex. Attack trigger. Dryad Arbor and Seedborn Muse both get counters. Matt will then cast a Magus of the Candelabra. Matt will then pass the turn, and on his end step, Dark Depths was a desert when it hit the graveyard, so it comes back to the battlefield. Now on Seth's turn, he'll just move straight to business. He activates Rogue's Passage, targeting Taurian Mauler. Then an unblockable 26/26 is swung at Matt. He currently doesn't have anything to stop this, so he'll flash in Fairy Mastermind. He'll activate it a total of 3 times, meaning everyone draws 3, and Matt will draw a total of 6. He finds a Viseiju, which could have dealt with the Rogue's Passage, but it's a little too late now, so he takes a lethal dose of damage. Seth will continue on though, and he'll cast the Great Hinge. Then he'll Krosan Grip Chthonian Nightmare. Then he'll cast Idol of Oblivion. And with that now out, he'll activate Kibo to give everyone a banana, and then he'll activate Idol of Oblivion to draw a card. He'll then pass the turn to Alex, who starts off with the basic plains. And then Seth remembers, oh wait, I stole the Monarchy. Let me get that token and draw a card. Continuing on, Alex will recast his commander, then cast Lava Spur Boots and use a banana to equip them to him. Kibo trigger. The turn is then passed to Jason, and there's a Stone Fangs trigger, and then he'll cast a Heartborn Battler. After that resolves, he'll cast Hellspur Posse Boss again. That's his second spell this turn, so he'll point 2 damage at Seth's face, and then his Posse Boss will create 2 mercenary tokens when it enters the battlefield. And all these creatures get 2 counters. He'll then move to combat and swing Gev at Seth. Seth will respond by activating Gorilla Shaman to attempt to destroy Jason's banana. Jason of course cracks it in response, but Seth still gets his counters. He'll then Nature's Claim Shadow Spear, gaining Alex 4 life, but also growing his dudes again. Seth will then move to block, and he'll put his 8/9 in front of Jason's 9/8, and they will trade. Ozolith will get 6 counters, then Jason plays a tapped Blood Crypt and passes to Seth. Seth will then cast Rishkar's freaking Expertise. This draws him 40 cards, and then he'll free cast the Roaming Throne. He names Monkey and misses a Great Hinge trigger. Seth will then Rogue's Passage his Taurian Mauler, move to combat, and swing out at Alex. Double Kibo trigger, so Alex has to sacrifice 2 artifacts. More Kibo triggers, and this puts a total of 8 more counters on all of his creatures. Alex is super dead here. And now that Seth has a 48/48, Seth will show Jason a fling. And Jason has no responses, so he's dead. And that makes Seth and Kibo the winners. Congratulations. Alright, and there you have it. The Monkey Man wins. Good job, Seth. That was awesome. What did you all think? Did you enjoy this video? Let us know down in the comments below, and while you're down there, don't forget to like and subscribe if you haven't already. Don't forget to check out all of our links as well. But yeah, this was a long video to edit, so I am going to skedaddle. I'm tired. I hope you all have a smooth day.